There will now be a moment for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. The Secretary will read the order.
Debate on vote number 4, Government Communications and Information System Appropriation Bill.
I now call on the Honourable Minister in the Presidency.
Deputy Speaker, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Communications and Digital Technologies, Honorable Kusela Sangoni, Deputy Minister in the Presidency, Honorable Kenny Morolong, members of the Portfolio Committee on Communications and Digital Technologies, representatives of the Board of the MDDA, Presidency, and Team GCIS, honorable members, good morning. Allow me to start by joining the President of the Republic and other South Africans in extending our condolences to the family, friends, and comrades of the late 8th Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa, Mr. D.D. Mabuza. Makalale ngobuhle nokuphumula. Deputy Speaker, when the Government Communication and Information System was established 27 years ago, on the 18th of May 1998, it said it will focus on 6 broad priorities. First, establishing a coherent government communication system, building a development information network to service grassroots needs, developing an information strategy for multipurpose communication centers. Fourth, building relations with the media as communication partners. Fifth, encouraging media diversity. And sixth, improving the competencies of government communicators. On encouraging media diversity, the GCIS of the 1998 grew up alongside the emergence at the time of Google as a dominant search engine, Hotmail as the key email platform. We had 4 terrestrial television channels, 3 of them operated by the SABC, and 1 private channel, ETV, and Mnet was the only satellite offering in South Africa. And South Africa had only 1.2 million mobile users, and none of these phones could take photos, and WhatsApp only came along 11 years later. We can all appreciate from this how much has changed in the communications in 27 years, and there is a need for all of us to keep up with the rate of change. To make the point clearer, globally, the print media, which flourished in the pre-digital era, is facing survival challenges in the era of instant access to news through the use of smartphones and online news aggregators. Allow me to illustrate this point. In 2004, there were more than 600 print media titles compared to a handful that exist today, and many of these are struggling to survive, and community medias operating in a constrained regulatory environment are not immune to this. Recently, we have witnessed the closure of more than 50 independent newspapers, and the once mighty City Press now only exists on a digital platform. This reality has impacted the ability of the MDDA to raise revenue from the commercial print media, and thus its ability to support community newspapers. To mitigate this, I established a print and digital media transformation and revitalization steering committee of CEOs of the mainstream commercial media, community media, academia, OTT platforms to recommend how to revitalize community and commercial print media in a multi-channel and digital economy. The final report with recommendations from this committee is expected soon. From the final report of this committee, we will review both the strategic plan and the APP of the MDDA to ensure full implementation of the recommendations thereof. In the 6th administration, we indicated the need for legislative amendments to the Electronic Communications Act, or the ECA, to bring up to date the legislative framework to support community media. The GCIS has commenced the work to review Chapter 3 on licensing framework and 9, the broadcasting services of the ECA in NS, and should be able to complete consultations with the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, the Independent Communications Authority of South Africa, ICASA, and other relevant stakeholders by end of the current financial year. On the G20, As South Africa continues its historic role as the G20 president in 2025, the GCIS, the Brand SA, and DECO have intensified efforts to protect and promote the country's image in a world marked by rising geopolitical tensions and misinformation. Growing alternative narratives continue to compete with facts. In this context, GCIS and Brand South Africa priorities are focused on: one, targeted global campaigns that showcase South Africa's leadership in key sectors; robust stakeholder engagement to deepen collaboration across public, private, and regional actors; strengthening social cohesion through the Play Your Part program, which inspires active citizenship and community pride; coordinated messaging by Team South Africa at global forums to ensure one clear, credible voice is heard; and proactive media engagement to ensure South Africa's story is told truthfully, responsibly, in ways that inspire confidence both domestically and internationally. Deputy Minister Mrolong yesterday led Brand South Africa and DECO in the launch of the G20 advert to announce South Africa's G20 presidency and world delegates. The advert profiles the attractiveness of the nation brand whilst reaffirming its position of being a stable and diversified economy. The advert uses powerful visual storytelling to deepen engagement, shift perception, and reaffirm our voice in the global stage. Anchored in the theme Shared and Unified Prosperity through Sustainable Partnership, the advert captures the spirit, pride, and purpose behind our leadership role. On re-establishing a coherent government communication system, Deputy Speaker, as the 7th administration began its work and focusing on its priorities of economic growth, reducing poverty, and building an ethical and capable state, the GCIS began its development of the 7th administration's National Communication Strategic Framework, the NCSF. This cabinet-approved framework creates a clear structure and outlook for effective and coordinated communication by government communicators over the next 5 years. The GCIS will work to support the priorities of government through the implementation of this framework that seeks to bring government closer to its citizens and stakeholders and envisions an increase in the levels of trust between government and the citizens based on improved information sharing about government service performance and interventions. To this end, 11 post-cabinet media briefings reported on cabinet deliberations and decisions, and 78 departmental media briefings were facilitated by the GCIS at either its Pretoria or Cape Town media centers. This translates to 2 media briefings per week, thus repositioning GCIS as the coordinator of government communications. And these media briefings, including the post-cabinet briefings, are supported by live streaming, which extends our reach internationally and to rural communities through community radios. During the 2025-26 financial year, GCIS has commenced in earnest with the coordinating the pre- or post-budget votes media briefings of departments, and the same will be when departments table their annual performance reports in October. In addition, as part of the GCIS focus on monitoring the implementation of departmental and provincial communication plans, we will table to Cabinet quarterly communication plans implementation progress report with an aim of identifying areas for improvements and support requirements for departmental and provincial implementation. The first report will be tabled in the next cabinet meeting. We intend to share these quarterly reports with the Portfolio Committee as part of enhancing its oversight on the implementation of the National Communications Strategic Framework. In addition, the GCIS provincial offices will commence with coordinating the development of district and metro municipalities' communications plans in consultation with offices of the Premier and SALGA during the 2025-26 financial year. At a policy level, we are at the final consultation stages in the review of the Government Communication Policy of 2018. The draft reviewed policy proposes: 1, norms and standards to professionalize communication and ensure coherence and a well-functioning system across all spheres of government, including entities. 2, prescribing that 1 to 5% of departmental operational budgets be allocated to communication, thus making compulsory allocation of budgets for communication so that communication is proactive and intentional. 30% of departmental advertising budgets be set aside for spending on community media. Clarifying roles and responsibilities of various key government communicators, communication messengers, such as executive authorities, accounting officers, subject experts, and the rest, to close the communication bag that emerges from time to time due to personalities. And fifth, making compulsory the media training of MLOs, executive authorities, and newly appointed heads of communications. Sixth, providing clear guidelines for government social media communication. And lastly, corporate identity application. On building relations with the media as communication partners, GCIS operates in a global environment where traditional news on TV, radio, and online are supplemented by at times also undermined by institutional or individual content creators who seek to cause mischief or drive divisions and cynicism in society. In a world where anyone can see anything happening everywhere in the world at any time, content development at the GCIS has to be globally competitive, compelling, and credible. These are the demands placed on GCIS at head office and in remote corners of our country, where government communicators are reaching out to communities as well as visitors and investors who have an interest or economic interest in such areas. Under these circumstances, the GCIS continues to place a premium on engaging with trusted news channels across all media types, given their credibility and expansive reach. In this regard, during the 2024-25 financial year, there were 61 engagements undertaken between government officials and senior journalists on government's key programs. Honorable members, GCIS continues to monitor national and international print, broadcast, and online media, which ensures that government is kept abreast of issues and dynamics in public discourse about our government and South Africa in general. Over the period, social media alerts played a key role in addressing disinformation and misinformation, and government social media platforms are growing in importance and usability as instant, trusted sources of government information and news. GCIS has also actively utilized digital media to reach citizens, thus harnessing the power and reach of social media in government communications. In October 2024, we reached 1 million followers in the government Facebook page, having started at just over 200,000 in March 2023. And to date, the government page following has reached 1.1 million. Recently introduced government WhatsApp channels have reached 1.4 million followers. We boost a combined following of almost 3.5 million unique users across platforms. This is made possible because we are consistent in using government-owned platforms for up-to-date announcement on government initiatives, important news, and opportunities. Improvements are still required to improve the performance of other government departments, provincial governments, and local government social media platforms to be instantaneous information source specific to their departments, provinces, and municipalities. Furthermore, the South African Government News Agency, sanews.gov.za, has become a valuable source of current news and information dedicated on government priorities, programs, and interventions for the country. In the last financial year, 3,617 stories on key government programs and activities were published on SA News, focusing on government interventions in key priority areas such as anti-corruption, the fight against gender-based violence, implementation of the Economic Reconstruction Recovery Plan, combating crime, and the outlook of the country in general. SA News articles were republished in mainstream media, both internationally and in the domestic media, which gave added traction to government messages and supplemented reporting by media on government's extensive program of activities and opportunities for citizens. The GCIS continues to prioritize radio as a pervasive communication channel to reach South Africans in a language of their preference and to ensure that communities receive and engage with government information and services. In the last financial year, 1,086 radio products were used to inform citizens through differentiated platforms. Before I turn to the budget allocation for the GCIS, allow me to list other initiatives in our pipeline that the Deputy Minister and I have not detailed in this budget debate due to time constraints. These include the assessment of the contribution of Brand South Africa and the MDDA to national policy, revision of the statutory form of Brand SA, development and approval of the digital transformation strategy, publishing of annual transformation report to assess the state of transformation in the media, advertising, and communication sector, development and implementation of the integrated platform strategy to improve relevance in a multi-channel environment and increase reach. I believe these initiatives are crucial in gearing the GCIS and its entities for the communication landscape of the future. Honorable Deputy Speaker, the total budget allocation to the GCIS over the 2025 MTEF period amounts to 2.468 billion, which is spread as follows: 2025-26, 820.2 million; 2026-27, 805.7 million; 2027-28, 842.1 million. The department's current budget of 820.2 million for the 2025-2026 financial year is shared across operational costs, capital costs, and transfers and subsidies. The operating budget of 544.4 million, and this constitutes 66% of the budget allocation. The operating budget caters for compensation of employees to the value of 311, with the establishment of 500 payment positions. It must be noted that the GCIS establishment is not fully funded, as the cost of employee allocation is insufficient. The transfers and subsidies amount to 270 million, and the transfers to MDDA is 40 million, and to Brand SA is 229 million, excuse me. Honorable Deputy Speaker, in an era of ever-diminishing budgets and many pressing interests, we understand funding is a challenge for all departments. However, this present GCIS budget allocation does not adequately cover the cost of communicating per capita. I wish to table this budget for your support and undertake that we will work diligently with this budget to save the nation, no matter how much constrained it is. Thank you.
Next speaker is the Honourable Sangoni.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker.